Good morning friends, how are we doing? And following on from last week's video where I introduced the fact that I am now going to be doing some life coaching, I figured over the next few videos I'm going to actually tell my story as to how I came to this point where I figured, do you know what, I might have something here that might be able to help some other people. Would you believe that this actually started back in 2011? So we're looking at 12, 13, 14 years ago now at this stage, where I actually realized one morning I just woke up that I was just really fat and I really didn't like it. Historically, when I was back in school and all through the first few years of college, I actually had found myself being quite slim. I was probably very underweight when I was a teenager, you know, running around, being active and all that good stuff. But then when I went to college, I just found that I just ballooned up. I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't see it coming. It was one day I woke up and I was fat. I wasn't happy. And throughout the last couple of years of college, I tried to lose it. I tried to drop it. I was counting calories. I was doing sprints. I was going to the gym. I was eating well, trying to eat healthy, all the stuff you were supposed to do. And I never really made any progress with it. And that continued on for a few years, and ultimately I finished college. I went out into industry and I got a job, and that was great. But it was still, I was really just was very unhappy, and I always kind of had this thing in the back of my head that, oh, I'll lose the weight one day, and we'll get there and we'll figure out. But I really wasn't in a good spot. And one morning in the middle of December in 2011, I got up, and the way my room was positioned at the time was that I slept on the left hand side of the bed, and as I got out of my bed, I walked around the bed to go over to the bathroom, which was on the right hand side of the room. But to walk past the end of the bed, I had to go past a mirror. And as I walked past this mirror in this particular morning, I just caught a glimpse just in the side of my eyes. I was like, oh, there's a fat person in my room. And I realized it was me. And I was unhappy. And I got a shock. And it was like, oh my God, I'm much more overweight than I thought I was. And from that moment, I just knew something had to happen. Jump forward 6 months later, and I've gone from 92 kilos, which I was that morning because I went right into my bathroom and I weighed myself, to where 6 months later, it was actually just slightly over 6 months later, it was the second week of June, I had gotten down to 60 kg. So I had lost 32 kilos, or over 50% of my body weight. Is that 50%? A big chunk. You might be asking yourself, well, what was different? What happened? What was the difference between when I tried to lose weight from that in there and actually succeeded, to all the times I had tried before? Because I had tried everything. I had tried the big breakfast diet, I had tried fasting, I had tried all these different things that you're supposed to do. So what was different this time? And actually, it was two different things that I accidentally fell into. And I'm sure there was some Googling back at the time to figure out what the correct approach was, but there was two things that I accidentally fell into. And the first one was an identity shift, and the second one was a habit-based tracking system called Don't Break the Chain. Now, the Don't Break the Chain is a really easy one to explain. It's this thing that Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian, is kind of been famous for sharing, and it was a tool and a system where he used that every single day he wanted to sit down and write for a minimum of, let's say it's 20 minutes. Now, I don't actually know how long it was, but what would happen was he would get up in the morning, go straight into his office and just start writing. And he wasn't allowed to be finished writing until he had spent a minimum of 20 minutes every single day sitting down and spending that time actually thinking about writing jokes. And when he was finished, he would get up from his chair, walk over to the back of his door and put a big X on a calendar, a wall calendar. It had all the days of the year on the back of his door. And essentially what happened was, after a couple of days, he ends up with these chain of X's. And the motivation for him to get up when it was difficult, when it was dark outside, when he just didn't want to get out of bed, the motivation that he had to get up and to write was that he didn't want to break that chain of X's. Because to miss one day when there was going to be a gap on all this historical consistency that he had brought every day would have to start all over again. So the motivation for him was to put an X every single day so that he didn't break that chain of consistency of taking every single day as an opportunity to write more jokes. I actually ended up taking this exact same thing to track when I stayed on top of my diet. I had been counting calories, but my goal was that every single day that I counted my calories and stayed in line with my goals, I would get an X on the calendar. And I used that system to build consistency over those 6 months. Say, okay, yeah, this might not be something I do forever, but right now with a problem that's in front of me that I really want to tackle, this system then is something that was really, really useful, where I could just put an X, and then I can see in the days where I get up or I'm not really in the mood to cook my lunch, or I get home from work and I'm just exhausted and I don't really want to go out and get the stuff to make dinner and come back in, and just all of those things that get in the way of our goals. Now I had this very visual system saying, you know what, take 10 minutes to go to the shop and to pick up some stuff for dinner and to cook it in a healthy way, because I'm going to be happier knowing that I can put an X, and I feel really proud of myself that despite that major challenge, I was able to push through, keep in mind what I was aiming for, to ultimately get that X. And that was the first tool that I had discovered. And the second tool I discovered is actually a thing called identity shifting. An identity shift is where we just, instead of trying to do something, we just believe that we are the person, that we have become somebody who just does that. As an example, you might want to drink a little bit more water every day, but rather than just saying to yourself, do you know what, I'm going to try to drink 2 liters of water every single day, I'm just going to give it my best shot. For some people, that really, really works. And actually, sometimes it'll work for you and other times it won't. And it just depends on where your head is at. But one thing that has been proven to work significantly better is what's known as an identity shift. So instead of telling yourself, do you know what, I'm going to really try to drink more water today, you turn around and you say, no, I am somebody who drinks more water. I am a person who has 1 liter drank by lunchtime, 2 liters drank by the time I'm finished work, and then I have another glass with dinner to make sure that I've hit everything that I need to hit, whatever it looks like for you. But it's that identity shift. It's moving from a model of where I'm going to give this a good shot to, no, I am somebody, this is just who I am, this is how I operate. And that's what I did. I woke up that morning and I said, I am not going to be a fat man anymore. I'm going to be somebody who is healthy, who is fit, and who knows how to control their diet. And I just decided that day, this is the mindset I had. I'd love to say that that was a deliberate choice I made, and I don't know where it came from. But looking back, in hindsight, I realized that that's what I did. I had made a shift of, no, this is not me anymore. Enough is enough. Now, that's really, really good. But that realization, that realization that morning of that I'm really, really fat, falling onto the tools of don't break the chain and this identity shift is really, really good. But unfortunately, because I accidentally fell onto those tools, I didn't actually have the system to make it work as part of the rest of my life. So yeah, I went from 92 kilos down to 60 kilos in 6 months' time. In 6 months, I was active, I was exercising regularly, I was healthier than I was before, and that's all really, really good. But the problem was, I didn't have the tools, I didn't have the systems, I didn't have the structures to make it work with the rest of my life. So while I had achieved all this success, it had come at a cost of having to sacrifice time, effort, and energy in the other areas of my life. And sometimes that's okay. For short periods of time, taking the focus off maintaining your the forward progress in your career, in terms of taking that progress off, focusing on your hobbies and making sure that you're enjoying life, not only just being super productive or aiming for particular career or health goals. You're actually taking that time, being able to manage everything else that goes along beside your goal is difficult, and I wasn't able to figure that out. And ultimately what ended up happening was a number of other areas of my life started falling down despite the success that I was having in my weight loss goals. So much so that some mistakes I was making while I was losing this weight ultimately led to the start of the demise of a relationship that I was in for what ultimately ended up being a 9-year relationship completely falling apart, just because I didn't have the tools, I didn't have the systems to be able to make this new weight loss system that I had developed work with the rest of my life. And when it was one versus another, I picked the weight loss, ultimately everything else started to fall apart. And what I'll do is, over the next video in next week's time, I'll talk through what came next. The systems, the tools, the issues that I had, which helped me get over that problem. So, between now and then, on Wednesday I'll be posting another midweek musing video, which will just be a short something to think about. But until then, I'm going to review this video, try and edit it up. Yeah, I feel like I need to get much better at these videos, but sure, look, we'll get there. But for now, I'm going to go and enjoy my coffee, and looking outside, it's a nice morning, so I might go for a walk. But other than that, please like, subscribe, share, whatever you're supposed to say at this point, and we'll be in touch. Cheers. Thank Coffee. Right. Oh God. Right. What is it about recording a video that's very difficult? I don't know what that is. Anyway. So